Well, where do we start with this story? Coming out of Louisiana. The New York Times just released this investigative report on what just appears to be just terrible. Terrible, worse than Scott's Tots. If you don't know that Michael Scott episode where Michael Scott promises a whole bunch of students free college tuition if they graduate high school, and of course he cannot follow through and ends up just giving them not new laptops, but new lithium ion batteries for laptops that they don't also have. This is the story, though, about a school in Louisiana called TM Landry, and my goodness, the New York Times went in today. I think they got tired of Donald Trump and actually decided to focus on some real news for once. And this is really sad. This 6-minute video that the New York Times posted today has just been swiftly followed by just a litany of reports around this TM Landry College Preparatory School. And it's basically centered on this what the article calls a Cinderella story, a small school run by Michael Landry, a teacher and former salesman, and his wife, Mrs. Landry, a nurse. Predominantly black working class students escaping the rural South for the nation's most elite colleges. You may have seen videos in the past where a bunch of students kind of rally around one student to see if they get accepted to an Ivy League college, and then they all get excited when they realize that they have been accepted. A video of a 16-year-old student opening his Harvard acceptance letter last year has been viewed more than 8 million times. And other Landry students went on to Yale, Brown, Princeton, Stanford, Columbia, Dartmouth, Cornell, and Wesleyan. I mean, this article is just amazing. In reality, the school falsified transcripts, made up student accomplishments, and minded the worst stereotypes of Black America to manufacture up from hardship tales that it sold to Ivy League schools hungry for diversity. The Landrys also fostered a culture of fear with physical and emotional abuse. Students and teachers said students were forced to kneel on rice, rocks, and hot pavement, and were choked, yelled at, and berated. Again, this article is just crazy. That dream you see on television, all those videos, said Mr. Sasal's mother, it's really a nightmare. In 2013, Mr. Landry was sentenced to probation and attended an anger management program after pleading guilty to count of battery. Despite the documentation, he insisted that he did not plead guilty or serve probation. Mr. Landry said that the victim was a student whose mother asked him to hit her child, and he said he had eased up on physical punishments. I don't do that anymore. I mean, I'm just kind of giving you just some excerpts from this article, but it is just pretty crazy. The students who navigated the Landry system and made it to the nation's top colleges now face their own quandaries. I really believe that we all thought we were doing the right thing at the time and didn't have a choice. Mr. Smith said it was a cultish mentality. TM Landry produced its first graduating class in 2013, and since then 50 students have graduated. According to the school's promotional materials, they have had mixed success in college. Some alumni, especially those who spent only a short time at TM Landry, have been successful. And you can see, there's videos of him banging on tables. I mean, that to me is just crazy. That's crazy. As a leader in the community, as a leader in a school, I'm going to pause it there because I believe the video here is almost over. But the student's most viral video, who spent only a short time at Landry in his first semester at Harvard. Other Landry students have been admitted to Harvard over the past 3 years, but the university declined to provide information on their status. And I gotta say, this has to be pretty embarrassing for the universities as well. As this article says, so hungry for diversity at their universities that did they not do their own research into these schools? There's other parts in this New York Times article which please read the article yourself. It's really long and it's quite damning. And I've seen, charter schools in Philadelphia and charter schools in Detroit, and they just seem like they are just money hungry at the end of the day. They just want your money. This school's tuition was $750 a month. That you have lower income people paying into this school, hoping that they are really giving their children, their grandchildren, their relatives, the best chance at an education, at a future, and just to find out that it was built on a house of lies. That not only lies, but that your child is not getting a great education, but was actually being abused. That would break my heart. And it's sad because a lot of these people don't have the time to go and actually see what's happening in these schools. My wife taught at a charter school in Detroit, and a lot of these kids, their parents were working 2, 3 jobs, 4 jobs. Some are actually incarcerated. And you talk about, being able to, hold yourself accountable as a parent. Sometimes you literally cannot do that. You cannot make it to that child's school. And so you send them off to school, you pay the money, you send the money, you pay whatever, and then you find out that this is what's been happening. But getting back to universities, how are the universities accepting students from these schools and not knowing that the school is not accredited, that the school is not recommended by the state, it doesn't undergo any state inspections, anything like that? How as an Ivy League school are you letting this happen? Asia Jackson, whose Wesleyan University acceptance video also went viral, decided to leave this month after she said she fell into a depression over her first semester struggles. She said she froze and failed her first chemistry test and walked out of a biology exam. Her papers, she said, were childish, and she was too embarrassed to attend a writing workshop. You talk about a child feeling like they've been set up for success because you've bred a culture that, this is, you're doing your best. You're getting an A in this class, or you're not getting an A at all. And these guys, this man and his husband are falsifying, and his wife are falsifying documents saying that you're this awesome student, and then they're sending these falsified documents to Ivy League schools who aren't vetting it, and now you're going to an Ivy League school and you're struggling. It's one thing, it's like me working at a car manufacturing plant and putting a stamp seal of approval saying, yep, this is a 5-star safety rated vehicle, and that's all I have to do. Hey, I got my 5-star safety rated vehicle out into the world. That's all I care about. What happens after that, obviously, he must not care about. Miss Jackson goes on to say, I didn't understand why people around me were doing well and I wasn't. So she took the advice of her dean and went on a medical leave. I couldn't tell my friends because they would say, how did you get into the school then? There were just way too many questions that she couldn't answer. Later on in this article, he got us on the unity. Basically, the couple started TM Landry in 2005 as a homeschool for their son and 5 children. The early results were not good. 2 of the 6 students ended up in prison. 2 of the 6, that means his own children ended up in prison, Mr. Landry said. But the couple continued to recruit students from area churches, telling parishioners that teaching was their calling. And how many times do I say that people use God and the Word of God to do the most terrible things? And here's just another sad example. TM Landry, now an unaccredited private school, settled last year into a bare-bones factory building that Mr. Landry has compared to his students, abandoned, run down, but loved by him. By taking no government funding, the school falls into a narrow category of educational institutions that the state does not regulate or approve, said the Assistant Superintendent of Policy and Governmental Affairs at the Louisiana Department of Education. So why does the Louisiana Department of Education actually allow schools, and why? This is why we need school reform in general. I hope that Betsy DeVos, who's sitting in her ivory tower in Washington, who was elected to help reform or do whatever she's supposed to be doing about education in the United States, I hope this is one of those schools that she somehow fixes. Seriously. And Mr. Landry's response was, so what, we're not accredited. 3 years in a row, Harvard took us, Stanford has taken us. Of course they have. They're hungry for diversity. I have no idea. And we know Harvard has come under fire, or is coming under fire, because of their acceptance rates. Now you imagine, oh my goodness, this is terrible, because now imagine you are an Asian student or Caucasian, Indian, whatever. You're not black, you didn't go to this school, but imagine you have the best grades and you did not get into Harvard, yet someone who went to this school, TM Landry, did, because Harvard's trying to meet a diversity quota. They're trying to make sure that they're hitting, affirmative action numbers. This is terrible on all fronts. On all fronts. I cannot find a silver lining for this. The students that went to the school and were lied to, the parents that sent their kids to the school and were lied to, the universities that were lied to and didn't do their due diligence to make sure that they weren't being lied to, the state of Louisiana who's allowing this to happen, and it's all centered on this one man. This one man and his wife. Just so terrible. I don't really know how to make this a positive. I would love to hear some feedback from others, and I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm flabbergasted. So anyway, I don't even know if I want to continue this story. Again, I've read it. I would encourage you all to take some time to read it and check it out yourselves as well. But for the sake of time, this video is already almost 12 minutes long, and I could probably go on reading. I could read this whole thing to you all, and it's so bad. It's so bad. So can this guy go to jail? That's my biggest question is can this man and his wife go to jail for, this has to be like a falsification of legal documents. This has to be, something. He should be sued for every dime that he's worth. I mean, he's been featured on the Today Show, Ellen, CBS This Morning, everything. Every single thing you can think of, and this man has pretty much been there and done that when it comes to positive, painting a positive image for this terrible monster that he's created. The highlights of this article: building a house on water. That there was another area. I'm not going to read any more of this, y'all. It's just bad. Dodie Thomas was a TM Landry grandmother. She discovered that her 6-year-old granddaughter had never learned phonics and that she could not read. She played with Legos most of the day. I feel like I've paid for a high-priced babysitter. It was like building a house of water. High school students took ACT practice tests day after day and sporadically attended classes. Byron Sasal, who took the ACT 3 times, said that once he got to college, he realized an education that revolved around test preparation had ill-served him. And how many times does that happen in schools in general? We teach to the test. And then there's parts where they're talking about the physical abuse that happened. When Mr. Landry's booming voice would ring through the school, "I'm getting mad," this article has in all caps. Students scurried to get out of his path. More than a dozen students and staff members told the New York Times of pupils being humiliated in front of others, in front of their peers, and of racial groups being pitted against one another. Again, this is just all terrible. The police conducted an investigation into alleged assaults, which witnesses said took place from late 2016 to January of 2017. The inquiry included witness statements from 3 students, and come on. And then he was pulling information out of thin air. Mr. Landry told students that he would ruin their futures if they left the school. This is bad. This is bad. I honestly hope this man goes to jail. I hope they sue him for everything he's worth. I wish that these people could get their money back. The article finishes was, "We had to be the perfect student. The joy was real. The first recorded Ivy League acceptance appeared from Brown in 2013, and it was barely shared. And of course, that's blown up to the viral videos. I was so brainwashed," students say. They say they should have said something. They were just students, TM Landry hit a high of 180 students last year. Parents say that enrollment plunged after Mr. Landry called them a racial slur. And many people blamed the drop in enrollment on an onslaught of negativity, which obviously had been going on the entire time. Mr. Mitchell is among several students who never received a transcript. Last year, he was required to take 9th and 10th grade classes at a public high school. Again, just imagine going to the school and then not getting anything in return or getting falsified documents. I just wanted to go to school. So anyway, I feel like the New York Times did a great job with this article. Of course, at the end of it, Mr. Landry, Michael Landry, says that none of this is true. He even went as far as to say that he feels like he's being crucified like Jesus. He compared himself to Jesus. He said, "My name is Michael Landry. I am the reformer. They killed Jesus Christ because he could save the world. I say to myself, who are you compared to Jesus? Nothing. So I stick my arms out and say, nail me to the cross if that's what you want to do." Well, I hope he does get nailed to the cross. And if this is all true, I just hope that they really do get this man and that they help these kids. And again, I say this because I care about the education of our children. I care about the education of people that look like me. And I care about, just people that do terrible things like this. It's just wrong on all fronts. And you see these things and you see, the success stories, the lies. Like I would love to hear people that have actually gone to this school or have gone through it. Again, the New York Times said that they had done all this research and have all these students. Is this what really was taking place? The viral videos, the great reports about all this success, or was it all an elaborate ruse? Were we all duped by an elaborate ruse? Let me know, y'all. Because this is probably, I won't say it's the worst story that I've heard this year, but when you take people's futures into your hand and you crush them or you lie to them, you're just creating such a false and distorted image of reality, not only to those students but to the neighborhoods, to the nation. And it affects and impacts so many other people. So I'm going to end with that because I could probably go on. Let me know what y'all think. And I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.